Let's start with an idea that might sound impossible at first. What if the people we call the chosen ones, the ones who seem to carry a divine purpose, the ones who walk through life as if they're part of some grand cosmic plan, aren't chosen by a higher power at all? What if they're not chosen for something, but instead they are something? What if they are karma itself, walking, living, and breathing among us? It's a radical thought, but stay with me. Karma is often misunderstood as this cosmic scorekeeping system, where good deeds earn you good outcomes and bad deeds bring suffering. But that's too simplistic. Karma isn't transactional. It's a flow, an energy that moves through all things, shaping and reshaping existence. It's cause and effect, yes, but it's also balance, justice, and transformation. It's not just something that happens to us, it's something we participate in. So what if, every so often, karma doesn't just operate invisibly in the background? What if it takes on a form, a body, a person? What if the chosen ones are not just people with a mission, but living embodiments of karma itself? Think about the people in history who have changed the world in ways that seem almost supernatural. They weren't perfect. They weren't always good in the way we like to define goodness. But they had a kind of force about them, a presence that disrupted the status quo, that created ripples across time. They didn't just live their lives, they altered the trajectory of life for everyone around them. Could it be that these individuals were karma in human form, stepping in to reset the balance when it was most needed? Let's bring this closer to you. Have you ever met someone who seemed to embody something bigger than themselves? Maybe they weren't famous or powerful, but their presence felt like a catalyst. They walked into a room, and suddenly everything shifted. They weren't just a person, they were an event, a turning point, a force of nature. And here's the strange part: these people often seem to carry an incredible amount of suffering. It's as if they're not just living their own lives, they're carrying the weight of something much larger. Why is that? Why do the people who seem to have the greatest impact also seem to endure the greatest challenges? What if their suffering isn't a punishment or a coincidence? What if it's part of the process? Karma is about balance, but balance doesn't happen easily. It requires friction, tension, upheaval. If someone is karma personified, they're going to experience that friction directly. They're going to feel the weight of the world's imbalances because they're here to correct them. They're not just living their own karma, they're living the karma of everyone they touch. And that brings us to a deeper question. If the chosen ones are karma personified, what does that mean for the rest of us? Are we just bystanders in their story, or are we part of it? The truth is, karma is never one-sided. It's never just about one person. If someone is walking through life as an embodiment of karma, it's because they're interacting with the karma of everyone around them. They're not separate from us. They're connected to us, just as we're connected to them. Their role might be more visible, more dramatic, but it's not independent. We're all part of the same web, the same flow.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound spiritual lesson.
Let's pause here for a moment. Think about someone in your life who has had a profound impact on you, someone who challenged you, inspired you, maybe even hurt you in ways that forced you to grow. Were they just a person going about their life, or were they something more? Could they have been karma in action, showing up in your life to teach you, to shift you, to push you towards something you couldn't see on your own? And if that's true for them, could it also be true for you? Could you in some way be karma personified for someone else? This isn't about putting anyone on a pedestal. The chosen ones aren't saints. They're not above us or beyond us. If anything, they're more human than the rest of us because they feel everything so deeply. They're here to remind us of what it means to be alive, to feel pain, to create change, to restore balance. But they're also here to remind us that we're all part of the same process. None of us are separate from karma. None of us are separate from each other. So where does that leave us? If the chosen ones are karma personified, and if we're all connected to them, what does that mean for how we live our lives? It means that every action we take matters. Every choice, every word, every thought, it all contributes to the flow of karma. We might not all be chosen ones in the dramatic sense, but we're all part of the same story. And if that's true, then we all have a responsibility. Not just to ourselves, but to each other, to the world, to the balance of things. Here's a thought that might unsettle you. What if you're a chosen one, and you don't even realize it? What if the struggles you're facing right now aren't just random challenges, but part of a larger purpose? What if the pain you're carrying isn't just yours, but something you're carrying on behalf of the world? And what if the choices you make today, tomorrow, every day are shaping the future in ways you can't yet see? It's easy to dismiss this idea, to say, I'm just one person. What could I possibly do? But karma doesn't work in isolation. It's not about one person doing everything, it's about everyone doing something. The chosen ones might be the catalysts, but the rest of us are the reaction. We're the ones who take what they've started and carry it forward. We're the ones who decide whether the balance is restored or whether the cycle continues. So are the chosen ones actually karma personified? Maybe they are. But maybe that's not the real question. Maybe the real question is this: if they are, what does that mean for you? What does that mean for how you live, for how you show up in the world, for how you treat the people around you? Karma isn't just something that happens to us. It's something we are. It's something we create every single day, with every single breath. Let's start with something you might not have considered before. Karma isn't just something that happens to you, it's something you actively create. Every choice you make, every interaction you have, every moment you live in contributes to this invisible, ever-moving flow. It's not just about consequences, it's about participation. And whether you realize it or not, you're participating in karma all the time. The question isn't whether you're involved. The question is how. When people think about karma, they often imagine it as something external, a kind of cosmic vending machine where good actions produce good outcomes and bad actions lead to punishment. But that's a shallow way of looking at it. Karma isn't a reward or punishment system. It's a reflection. It mirrors your inner state, your intentions, your energy. It's not transactional, it's relational, and that means it's deeply personal. The karma you experience isn't separate from who you are, it's an extension of you. Now, if we're all constantly creating karma through our actions, then the chosen ones, those rare individuals who seem to carry the weight of something much larger, are creating it on an amplified scale. They're not just balancing their own lives, they're balancing everything they touch. They act as a kind of reset, stepping into situations where the scales have tipped too far in one direction, where harmony has been disrupted, where chaos has taken root. And in doing so, they often disrupt their own lives. Being a force of balance means stepping into imbalance. It means walking straight into the fire. Think about what that requires. To live as karma, to be a force of balance in the world, you have to be willing to endure discomfort. You have to face things most people run from: pain, conflict, uncertainty. You can't cling to comfort or avoid hardship. Because the very act of restoring balance is messy. It's not clean or easy. It demands a kind of courage that goes beyond bravery. It's a willingness to be broken open, again and again, for the sake of something greater. And that's why the chosen ones often seem to carry so much suffering. They're not being punished, they're being shaped. But here's where it gets interesting. This isn't just about the chosen ones. If karma is something we all participate in, then we all have the capacity to live as a force of balance. Maybe not on the same scale, but in our own lives, in our own circles, we can embody the same principles. Every time you choose truth over convenience, compassion over indifference, growth over stagnation, you're creating balance. You're acting as karma in a world that desperately needs it. Have you ever been in a situation where something felt deeply unfair, where someone was wronged or hurt, and you had the chance to step in? Maybe it was something small, like standing up for someone who was being ignored, or something bigger, like speaking out against injustice. In those moments, you weren't just reacting to the situation, you were balancing it. You were stepping into the role that karma often plays, correcting what was out of alignment. And in doing so, you became a force of karma, even if only for a moment. But living as karma isn't just about dramatic acts. It's about the small, quiet choices you make every day. How you treat people when no one's watching. How you respond to anger or cruelty. How you carry yourself in a world that often feels chaotic and overwhelming. Every action you take has a ripple effect, whether you see it or not. And those ripples add up. Over time, they create patterns. They shape reality. So, the question isn't whether you're creating karma, it's what kind of karma you're creating. Here's something to think about. What if the challenges you're facing right now aren't obstacles, but opportunities? What if they're not random, but perfectly designed to teach you how to live as a force of balance? Maybe the difficult people in your life aren't just there to test your patience, they're there to help you develop compassion. Maybe the setbacks you've experienced aren't there to hold you back, they're there to show you how resilient you are. If karma is about cause and effect, then every challenge is also a cause, and how you respond is the effect. You have more power than you realize. But power comes with responsibility. If you're going to live as a force of balance, you have to be willing to look at yourself honestly. You have to ask hard questions about your own actions, your own intentions, your own patterns. It's easy to point fingers at the world, to blame others for the imbalance you see. But karma doesn't start out there, it starts in here with you. If you're carrying anger, resentment, or fear, that energy is going to ripple out into everything you do. And it's going to come back to you over and over again until you deal with it. This is why self-awareness is so important. You can't create balance in the world if you're out of balance within yourself. The chosen ones understand this, whether they realize it or not. Their lives might look chaotic from the outside, but on the inside, they're constantly working to align themselves with the flow of karma. They're not perfect, they make mistakes, they struggle, they fall, but they keep coming back to that alignment. And that's what sets them apart. It's not that they don't experience chaos, it's that they know how to move through it without losing themselves. But here's the truth, you don't have to be a chosen one to live this way. You don't have to be some larger-than-life figure to create balance in the world. You just have to be willing to show up fully and honestly in your own life. You have to be willing to take responsibility for your actions, to face your own shadows, to make choices that align with the kind of world you want to create. And you have to be willing to keep doing it, even when it's hard, even when it feels like no one is noticing, even when it seems like the imbalance is too great to overcome. Because here's the thing about karma, it's not immediate. The effects of your actions might not show up right away. The balance you're working to create might not be visible for a long time. But that doesn't mean it's not happening. Every action you take, every word you speak, every thought you hold is contributing to the flow. And over time, those contributions add up. They create patterns. They create change. So what does it mean to live as karma? It means recognizing that you're part of something much larger than yourself. It means understanding that your actions matter, even when they seem small. It means stepping into the role of a creator, not just a participant. And it means trusting that, no matter how chaotic the world may seem, balance is always possible. It's not about being perfect, or being chosen, or being anything other than who you are. It's about showing up every day and choosing to be a force of balance in an unbalanced world. If karma is about balance, then it's no surprise that living as a force of karma comes with a cost. Growth always demands something. It's not free. It pulls at you, stretches you, and sometimes breaks you open. And this isn't a punishment, it's simply how transformation works. You can't carry the weight of change and expect to remain the same. But the question isn't whether the price is worth paying, that's obvious. The real question is whether you're willing to pay it. Think about the moments in your life when you've grown the most. They probably didn't happen when everything was easy, when life felt smooth and predictable. Growth pushes through discomfort. It rises out of struggle. It demands that you let go of things you thought you needed: your comfort, your certainty, sometimes even parts of your identity. And that's where the sacrifice comes in. You can't hold on to the old and expect to step fully into the new. Something has to be left behind. For the chosen ones, this sacrifice is magnified. They're not just growing for themselves, they're growing for everyone they touch. They're carrying the weight of imbalance, not just in their own lives, but in the world around them. And that weight can feel unbearable. It's no wonder that so many of the people we see as chosen often live lives filled with pain, isolation, and struggle. They're not being punished, they're being prepared. To carry karma is to carry the weight of transformation, and transformation is never light. But this isn't just about them. You don't need to be a chosen one to feel the cost of growth in your own life. You've felt it before. You've experienced the pain of letting go, the fear of stepping into the unknown, the weight of carrying something you didn't ask for but somehow know is meant for you. It's not easy. And yet you do it. Why? Because deep down you know that the cost of staying the same is far greater. Growth hurts, but stagnation suffocates. So what does it actually look like to embrace this cost? It starts with understanding that sacrifice isn't about losing something, it's about creating space. When you let go of what no longer serves you, you make room for something new to emerge. But here's the catch: you don't always know what that new thing is. Growth demands trust. You have to let go before you see what's on the other side. And that's terrifying. But it's also necessary. The breath shows us this. Every moment inhaling requires exhaling. Taking in requires letting go. Life is built on this rhythm of exchange. Have you ever noticed how much energy we spend clinging to things that are already gone? Relationships that have ended, identities that no longer fit, beliefs that no longer serve us. We hold on because it feels safe, even if it also feels heavy. But safety isn't the same as growth. And the longer you hold on, the harder it becomes to move forward. Karma doesn't wait, it flows. And if you resist that flow, it doesn't stop, it pushes harder. The cost of avoiding growth is often greater than the cost of embracing it. But let's not pretend that letting go is easy. It's one thing to understand it intellectually, and another thing entirely to live it. Letting go means facing loss. It means grieving the parts of yourself that you thought were permanent. It's messy and it's painful, and it doesn't happen all at once. Sometimes it feels like you're being torn apart, but in that tearing, something new begins to emerge. Growth isn't clean, but it's always worth it. Here's something to consider. What if the things you're clinging to are exactly what's holding you back? What if the struggle you're experiencing isn't because life is unfair, but because you're resisting the flow of karma? The chosen ones don't resist. They step into the fire, knowing it will burn, knowing it will hurt, but also knowing it will transform them. That's the difference. It's not that they don't feel fear, they do, but they move forward anyway. And what about you? How often do you hold yourself back because of fear? Fear of losing what you have, fear of stepping into the unknown, fear of not being enough. Fear is part of the process. It's not something to avoid, it's something to move through. Fear is a sign that you're standing at the edge of growth. It's the price of transformation. And when you face it, when you step into it rather than away from it, you discover something incredible. The fear itself was never the real obstacle. The real obstacle was your unwillingness to face it. The chosen ones teach us this. They show us what it looks like to live with courage, to carry the weight of karma, even when it feels unbearable. But they also remind us that we're not so different from them. We might not carry the same weight, but we carry our own. And we have the same choice they do, to resist or to embrace, to hold on or to let go, to stay the same or to grow. Here's the truth: growth will cost you something. It will cost you your comfort, your certainty, your sense of control. But it will also give you something in return, something far greater. It will give you freedom. It will give you clarity. It will give you the ability to move through the world as a force of balance, as someone who contributes to the flow of karma rather than resisting it. And that's not just a gift for you, it's a gift for everyone you touch. So, what are you willing to sacrifice? What are you ready to let go of? These aren't abstract questions. They're real and they're immediate, because the truth is, you're already paying a price. The question is whether that price is leading to growth or keeping you stuck. The chosen ones remind us that the cost of growth is always worth it. They show us that sacrifice isn't about loss, it's about transformation. And they remind us that we're not alone in this process. We're all part of the same flow, the same rhythm, the same rhythm, the same balance. The price of growth is high, but the cost of staying the same is higher. And the choice, as always, is yours. Every action you take, every thought, every word, every decision creates ripples. You might not see them, but they're there, moving outward, touching people, shaping events, creating unseen consequences. Karma is not some distant, cosmic force, it's here. In the small moments, in the subtle ways you affect the world around you. And because of this, you're never just living for yourself. Your life, your choices, are threads in a much larger tapestry. Imagine throwing a stone into a still pond. The ripples seem small at first, but they travel far beyond the point of impact. That's what your actions do. You might think your kindness, your anger, your indifference doesn't matter, but it does. It always does. One moment of compassion can shift someone's day, even change their life. One careless word can leave a scar that lasts for years. The energy you put into the world doesn't disappear, it moves, it grows, it shapes reality. And this is where the chosen ones stand out. They understand that their actions carry immense weight. They don't always get it right, they're human, like the rest of us, but they live with a deep awareness of the ripples they create. And so can you. You don't need to be extraordinary to make a difference. You just need to live with intention, to act with awareness, to remember that every moment is an opportunity to create balance or disrupt it. The ripples of your life will outlast you. So the question is, what kind of energy are you sending out into the world? What kind of legacy are you creating? Not through grand gestures, but through the small, everyday ways you choose to show up. Every action you take sends ripples into the world. Sometimes these ripples feel insignificant, as if the small choices you make, the words you speak, the energy you project, the way you treat others couldn't possibly matter in the grand scheme of things. But the truth is, they do. Every decision, no matter how small, carries weight. Karma isn't just about the big, dramatic moments in life. It's about the accumulation of all the little ones, the patterns they form, and the way they shape the energy of the world around you. Think about it. When you show kindness to someone, even in passing, it doesn't end with that moment. It stays with them. Maybe it inspires them to show kindness to someone else. And maybe that kindness creates another ripple and another, until it moves far beyond anything you could have imagined. The same is true for cruelty, indifference, or selfishness. The energy you send into the world doesn't disappear. It moves outward, creating effects you'll likely never see. This is the ripple effect of karma. But karma isn't just about how your actions affect others, it's also about how they shape you. Every choice reinforces a pattern. When you choose compassion over anger, you're not just creating balance in the world, you're creating balance within yourself. You're shaping the person you become. And over time, those small choices build into something much larger. They create the trajectory of your life, the legacy you leave behind. The chosen ones understand this deeply. They act as catalysts, sending ripples that are larger, more profound, more disruptive. But this doesn't mean their ripples are more important than yours. You may not be carrying the weight of the world's imbalance, but you are carrying the weight of your own. How you respond to that weight, how you live, how you act matters. You are a force of karma, whether you realize it or not. So what kind of ripples are you creating? When you speak, do your words heal or harm? When you act, do your actions bring balance or chaos? These aren't abstract questions, they're the foundation of how you shape the world. Karma isn't something outside of you, it's something you are. And with every moment, you have a choice to create ripples that move the world closer to balance or further from it. What will you choose?